Hello, and welcome to episode 65 of Expertise is Overrated, the podcast that takes the time to answer the questions you didn't know you didn't want the answer to. I'm Sean.
And I'm Vib, and neither of us has any clue what we're talking about.
Except this time, we do, because we're back to our favourite thing, making lists. The hubris, the sheer hubris of this decision, I think cannot be overstated.
What? Making this particular list? Or me having written the line that you read perfectly?
No, I mean, the line was great, and I nailed it. Don't worry about that. It's this list. This is such a...
I'm actually scared. I'm not rarely scared. No, I'm rarely scared.
Not rarely competent in English either.
It's the carbon monoxide poisoning. What can I say? If I stop talking, call an ambulance.
I'll phone the local emergency services.
Which is great because you have no idea where I live. So
I could probably get hold of you. I'd know which porter to phone. They must have your address.
Ooh, maybe. Yeah.
I'd feel like I'd done enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like suffocation, it's a time pressure thing. Anyway, I'm sure I'll be alive.
You'll be alright.
The one thing that's going to kill me is the state of your list, probably.
Oh, almost certainly. I'm filled with an emotion I don't really recognise. I think it might be shame. Is that fair?
For me, it's more regret than shame, and I don't really know how to express why it's regret. There's also shame, considering that in my list I've definitely put under one particular ranking 5 different things. So I don't know how that's going to go down.
So what we've done, for people who don't read the episode titles, is we've decided to try and come up with the definitive list of the top 10 video games of all time. That fair?
That's certainly how I set out to make this list, and then somewhere along the way I said, fuck it, I'm making my top 10 favourite video game list, I think.
I think that's what it's migrated to. It's our top 10 video games of all time, because I didn't play on a Sega Saturn or an Atari or whatever, so obviously I don't have games from those, but also they're probably not on the list anyway.
There'll be times, I think, where there's examples, like for example if there's a series, we may not have picked the sort of traditional one, but I just felt myself fighting nostalgia. Right.
There's probably an argument that something like Final Fantasy IV should be on like a list of the best video games of all time, or Chrono Trigger for the like genre defining side of things, but that's a bit boring.
Yeah, so we can discuss why I've picked certain things, I think.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Should we just... yeah.
Did you...
Before we move on, I guess, how do you want to do this, first of all? Should we sort of do...
10 to 1 each? Sure. Or do you want to do 10, 10, 9, 9? 10, 10, 9, 9 might be better.
Yeah, we might do it that way.
I go, you go. Yeah.
But I think it'd be quite fun if before we get into the meat of the business, we sort of have a guess at what one of our top 3 video games of all time might be.
Right, I think that's a really, really good shout, because it's going to say a lot about what we think about the other person as well.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to go first, because I honestly have absolutely no idea for you. Like, none.
So, I'm going to guess that you have Skyrim in your top 3.
Fuck, I can't believe you said that, because I thought you were going to have Skyrim in your top 3.
I'll give you a clue. I don't have Skyrim in my top 10.
Wow.
I know. I think we need to come on to.
Okay, thank you for listening, everybody.
I think we need to come on to our list of honourable mentions.
Oh, that's thrown me for a loop.
I know, it threw me for a loop too.
In that case, do you want me to confirm whether or not I do have Skyrim in my top 3?
No, we'll get there when we get there.
I think you might have something like StarCraft or Age of Empires 2 in your top 3.
That's very interesting.
But I'm going to commit to StarCraft, actually.
You're going to commit to StarCraft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess from that you don't have StarCraft anywhere in your list.
Yes, you'd be correct. It's not even in my honourable mentions, of which there are many.
I have...
For the very simple reason that I never played StarCraft.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 12... Somewhere between 10 and 13, depending on how we think about it. Honourable mentions.
Yeah, I've got 10. Well, and one's an absolute travesty, which we definitely have to discuss. But
I've got a few honourable mentions that I'm going to get shouted at for not including. Right, do you want to...
Shall I go first?
Do you want to go first? Yeah. What's
so
your number 10?
Number 10 for me, and that's probably already going to make most people switch off, is the original Gran Turismo.
OG Gran Turismo.
Yeah, PlayStation 1 Gran Turismo.
I had that.
And that is nostalgia at its finest, because that is one of the first video games I remember playing.
I had Gran Turismo 2, I think.
Nah, already lost interest by that point for me.
Yeah, because it was a really boring series.
Yeah, and then it just gets steadily worse. Gran Turismo 1 sort of, I don't know, it like nailed it, and then they just never got to that same level again.
Fair enough. I have Age of Empires 2 at number 10. Okay. So you're not a million miles away.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have that in the top 3 then. Interesting. I did think you'd have it. I thought you'd have it higher, actually.
Yeah, well, things get very ropey further up the list. Very ropey.
Yeah, okay. Age of Empires 2, yeah, solid shout. Great game. At number 9, now, I ummed and ahed about this a lot, which makes you think, why didn't you put it at number 10?
Well, I've got that for a couple of things, though. Like, I was really unsure about where it was going, but if it was in my list, it was at number 5 type thing.
This one, for me, it was on the list very early on, and I just couldn't shift it out.
I can't justify not having this.
It is Total War Warhammer 2. I've put so many hours into that game. It's the best Total War game ever made. And you have to respect it. Big up CA, they've been going through a lot of shit at the moment because the fandom is just horrendous.
We're getting cancelled. We should send this to Voland. and like, I don't know, get hate mail or something. It'd be great.
Maybe, well, we'd certainly be more popular. Or more famous, rather.
We would be more famous.
But yeah, Total War Warhammer 2. Creative Assembly's finest ever game at number 9.
That's a really good show.
It's not a top 10 video game of all time, though, is it? Let's be honest. I don't know.
Well. Let's come back to that.
Yeah.
At number 9, I have Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And what I actually have is the combined Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, like, expansion pack. But it is just Diablo 2. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, a series that's been on my to-play list for a very long time.
Don't play Diablo 1, it hasn't aged well. Diablo 2 hasn't aged much better, but is so good. And Diablo 3 is the best UX experience, but you don't get it if you haven't played Diablo 2.
It's I'm sure we're going to come back to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Why did you pick
Why
predecessor? Like Gran Turismo over Gran Turismo 2, for example. But
yeah, exactly.
That's easy to explain.
Fair.
Okay, yeah, Diablo 2, good shout.
Number 8?
Number 8 for me, I've got Final Fantasy. But can you guess which one?
The correct answer is 7. But I bet you don't have 7. I bet you've got something really weird like 12.
12? Have I played 12?
I don't even know if there's a Final Fantasy 12.
There is a
They've
Final
always skip
Fantasy
straight
12.
to 15. What have you got?
Final Fantasy 10.
10.
Again,
that's probably fair.
Pure nostalgia. First Final Fantasy I ever played fully. Also the first, like, 3D one, I guess.
It was the first one on the PS2, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the first one on PS2. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've since played a lot more Final Fantasies since. And you know what? Even though, again, this is number 8 on my list, I've tried to replay it recently. Just couldn't get through it. It's way too long.
Well, yeah, no, that's fair. I don't have any Final Fantasy on my list. I don't even have it in honourable mentions because I just forgot that they existed.
Nice. Great. Yeah.
But also Final Fantasy VII was such a good game, so I don't know how my list makes any sense.
7's great, 8's great. You know, a lot of great games in that series.
Yeah, 9 is really good, but a tone shift. Anyway, we're going to come back to all these when we get through our lists at this rate. My number 8. Oh, I'm not. It's God of War 2018.
Oh, you're so boring.
I know.
That's so bland.
So good. It's so good.
See, that doesn't even feature in my top 20.
Wow.
And it is a great game.
Wow.
We'll have to unpack that later because I can't quite understand it myself, but it just...
I think if you'd asked me 2 years ago, it's not in my list. I'm going to put that out there now.
Interesting.
I think, yeah.
Is it because you only played it in the last 2 years?
Well, that's part of it, yes, but not the only reason.
Yeah, no, I considered God of War. I considered the whole series, actually.
Yeah.
I just... Yeah, something about it.
I also have... Well, we'll do honourable mentions later, but I've got God of War 2 as an honourable mention.
Yeah.
But no, the remake or 28, whatever we call it, God of War 2018 is my number 8.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that in your list, you could easily work for IGN, I think. Okay. Number 7. Number 7.
Do you want me to go first for this one?
Sure, go for it.
I've literally just decided on number 7 because I had 2 names in for a very long time, but I'm going to go with Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best Assassin's Creed game, just.
Yeah, we'll come on to that, I think. Because I agree, but I also disagree for one very specific reason.
Fair enough. What have you got at number 7?
Out of interest, so the one you kicked out, was that another Assassin's Creed game, and is it now no longer in your top 10?
No, it was Anno 1800.
And it's no longer just in your top 10?
It's no longer in my top 10.
So it's like 7th or bust?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't...
Oh, Anno, yeah, I hadn't considered that. No, fuck.
Anno just makes a very specific bit of my brain tickle.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I get that. No, for me, 7, very different game. Portal 2.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Portal 2, which we actually finished
we have streamed
together. Yeah,
we haven't streamed it, but we have played it. Yeah.
It's a great single player and great multiplayer experience. Fantastic.
We finished it in like a day, didn't we? We just played for 8 hours, and that was that.
Yeah, this was definitely one of those. The wife's away.
Yeah, I don't currently have a child, and my wife is away. Fancy gaming for a weekend.
And that we did.
Those were the days.
Indeed.
There's currently no overlap. We're going to have so much to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's not even the same genres, really, is it? Maybe our top 5s will bring it back. So who have you got? Who have you got at number 6? What have you got at number 6?
Number 6. I have Total War Warhammer 3.
Okay. Wow, that's the second time I'm going to have to cancel you. What is wrong with you?
I'm going to need to justify that, I think. But I'm gonna stick by it.
How much is CA paying you?
Nothing. I just did.
Why do they pay me less to say Warhammer 2? That's right, folks. We're the new spokespeople for Creative Assembly.
I mean, I'd take the money.
So we can't do much worse. It's actually not true. I don't think they're doing a bad job. It's just that people are assholes. Anyway, let's not get.
They're not reading their fans.
Total War Warhammer 3.
Yeah.
You know, I did originally sort of say I'm at some point happy to be convinced that Warhammer 3 is better than Warhammer 2. The issue for me was that I played so much Warhammer 2 in the run-up to Warhammer 3 that I just got burnt out, so I haven't given Warhammer 3 enough of a chance.
I'm in more or less the same boat. If you look at my time in game, so much more in Warhammer 2 than Warhammer 3. But my view is Warhammer 3 is just 2, but with more content. So that's
yeah.
And that's not strictly speaking true, but it's my line and I'm sticking to it.
It sort of isn't. It's sort of that's part of my problem with it, is that I kept wanting to play elves because I have a problem. I really do.
You do. And
there's like, well, by the time I've got off Ulthuan, or by the time I've got out of this forest, or by the time I've done that, you know, I've just played Warhammer 2 ultimately.
Yeah, that's fair.
and you know, Warhammer 2 at the time was just a bit more optimized. So, what
have you got in your number 6? I mean, yeah, we're going to need to come back to 3 versus 2.
Is the first where I have to put 2 versions because I couldn't decide, and I actually don't think it makes much of a difference, but people might kill me for that.
Okay.
Pokemon Blue and Red.
So OG Game Boy Pokemon.
Yeah, Game Boy Pokemon Blue and Red. The OG games that launched just a dynasty.
If anyone writes in using the words Pokemon Green, I will find you and throw something at you. In the West, the first games were Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red.
Yes. In the West, yeah, that's a good caveat.
Yeah, but we are Western. We grew up in the West. Those were the first ones it was possible for us to experience.
It's been a way for you to find out that I actually grew up in Japan or something. Pokemon Green, my favorite game. No, never played it. I'd love to play it, see what the difference is. But ultimately, now when you play these games, the difference is annoying because it just means you can't complete the full set without some magic.
A friend. Yeah, well, the whole idea was it was meant to be incentivizing you to go out and find other people who are the other version of the game, and
it was the reason to sell that Pokemon. Stupid little cable.
Yeah, exactly. That's
fair play.
I did play a lot of that as a kid. A lot of that.
You see, it took me a while to think of it, and then I was like, well, it has to be on. I'm actually surprised at myself that it's only at 6 because I played it to death.
That I remember being in hospital. And it was like lights out or whatever. And I was like, no, you have to let me finish this battle because I can't save until I finish this battle. And I've been doing it for ages. And the nurse wouldn't let me. It was really sad.
That is quite sad. I actually feel your pain. Also,
really
how good was the Game Boy Color, I guess?
It was a phenomenal console.
A great console.
Absolutely unbelievable console.
Should have a top 10 consoles battle at some point.
Nintendo Wii, number 1.
Oh, number 1. I mean, that's bold. Is it super bold?
Sold more than like any other console of that generation.
Sell a lot.
It sold more console units than any other console of that generation, and fewer games of any other console because everyone just bought it for Wii Sport. Anyway, number
Top 5. Here we go.
This is where things get serious. What have you got for number 5?
Oh, you're making me go first, eh?
I know, because I'm really embarrassed by my number 5 because it's just immediacy bias.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's very interesting. For me, it is the opposite. Again, major nostalgia. Again, took me a while to think of this game. But oh God, I can't believe I put this in the top 5 of my all-time video games. It is the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King video game.
Oh, I was so close to putting that on the list.
The minute I thought of it, I was like, yeah, that was a great game, and I sank hours into it with my brother as well.
So did I. I sank ages. Not with your brother, obviously. That would have been weird, but
strange coincidence.
I sank a stupid amount of time into that game. But I played it again recently. A mate had his when we were living together in London, got his hands on his old PS2, and we played it, and it's just not. It's not good.
Super old. Yeah, I tried to emulate it a while ago, and it's just janky. But
when you can play Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, it's just not good.
But they just don't capture that same magic. They're great games, don't get me wrong, but ultimately I kind of just want to run around as Aragorn and bash orcs in the head.
It's
not a complicated game, but it's great.
No, it's not a complicated game. It's aggressively linear, but hey, for what it's also bold shout, potentially the best movie video game tie-in ever.
Ooh. Let's put a pin in that.
Let's put a pin in that because GoldenEye 64. But
yeah, I think that's the issue.
Other than it's up there especially in an era where it was very difficult to make movie tie-in games. Can you tell I don't want to admit my number 5?
Yeah, I can.
Right, so my number 5 is Ghost of Tsushima. And I'm fairly sure that's because it's what I'm currently playing. But my God, am I having fun. Like, just so much fun. It's such a well-constructed game. It's absolutely, for my money, the best in its genre of, like, open-world, third-person action-adventure games. Bar none. But also, I'm just playing it at the moment, so that could be the problem.
See, now I've never liked you, but I used to at least respect you to an extent. You've just drank all the modern day Kool-Aid of here's content and doesn't the scenery look amazing and
but the scenery does look amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's a great game for the first hour. Anyway,
this is the thing. That's right. We'll come back to it.
That's two strikes for you now. God of War and Ghost of Tsushima. Two games that you've played since owning a PS5, which I know you've only had for less than a year.
I played God of War on the PC.
Oh, did you? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I played God of War on the PC when it came out on the PC.
That was my because I was going to say, have you just not ever experienced like 4K gaming before or something?
I mean, no. To be completely clear, no, I have not.
So is Ghost of Tsushima your first
revelation? It's my first full PS5 game that I'm playing properly. I played some Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's just too fast moving to appreciate.
Yeah, no, I mean games like that on a nice TV. Yeah, it is something special.
I need to sit down and play Ragnarok in 4K, but
it's on my list.
Yeah, I've just got. Actually, I'm working my way through my PlayStation catalog.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is still on my list of things to play. So.
It's really good, and it's on.
It's right up my street as well. It's just it came out alongside things like God of War and really sort of long story games that are actually kind of. My issue with a lot of them is that they like Hogwarts Legacy. I think is a great example. Like it's a fun game at its core, but my God, does it make you work for bullshit?
So the thing is, Ghost of Tsushima doesn't. That's the thing that I think sets it apart from its peer group. Is I'm doing a lot of the side missions and stuff, but it jumps you straight into the Ninja Samurai Power Fantasy day one, and just turns the volume up from there. There's no like having to earn the ability to be a samurai or whatever. You start as a samurai.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So
yeah. No, I mean, by all accounts, a great game. Many accolades.
Yeah,
so I'm
enjoying it.
Okay, so number 4.
Number 4. Do you want me to go for this one?
No, I'll go first because it's the first one I think where we've agreed on something. Age of Empires 2.
Oh, good. That's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, days, weeks, months of my life gone to that game.
That's fair. That's fair.
And better than Age of Empires 1, and they've just never been able to recapture the magic. Yeah, just not even close.
Is it better than Age of Mythology? I think the answer is yes.
I think the answer is yes, but potentially purely because it had the fortune of being played first by me.
I think it is also deeper. Yeah, no, absolutely. My number 4, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Okay, yeah.
I love that game. I love that game so much. I played 1, 2, 3, and 5, and the only one that grabbed me was 3.
Interesting.
Well, they all grabbed me, but 3 was the one that I kept wanting to go back to, and it's the one that I'm most excited about for the reboot, or the remake, or the remaster, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've literally started playing that today. Metal Gear Solid 1 on a TV. It clearly wasn't made for. It doesn't actually fit. They've put like black bars either side and stuff.
Yes.
So when did you first play the Metal Gear? Did you start with 3? Or?
I started with 1.
You started with 1.
I started with 1. I played 1 on the PS1. I played 2 and 3 on the 2. And then I played 5 on the Xbox One or 360 or something.
Yeah. No, interesting. Okay, fair enough. Top 3 then.
Top 3. This is where it gets real.
So I said StarCraft for you is somewhere in your top 3, and you said, what did you say? Skyrim.
Skyrim. I'm feeling really confident.
Yeah. Shall I just reveal my top 3?
You do your top 3, then I'll do mine.
There's probably not a huge amount in them.
You're going to yell at me for my number 1.
Almost certainly.
Based on your behaviour for my number 5 and number 8, you're going to properly yell at me for my number 1.
No, wait, okay, let me guess it then. What would you have put there? If it's something like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, if you put Spider-Man on there or something
I haven't. Don't worry, I haven't done that. Just do your top 3, then I'll do mine.
Yeah, so in third place for me, Mass Effect 2. Fantastic game. Great game. In 2, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. Has to be up there. And number 1... And I think... So this is where I've cheated, because I put 5 games on there.
Right.
But they're in a specific order that I came up with, and I hate, but I also think it's fair.
Okay.
But it's obviously the Metal Gear Solid series.
Okay.
But in first, I've got Metal Gear Solid 4.
That's the only one I haven't played. That's Guns of the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then... I was torn, because originally when you said let's make a top 10 list, I was like, well, the top 5 is easy. It's just Metal Gear Solid. But I wanted to sort of rank them, because I think they're phenomenal, and they work as a series. So I think for me it was Metal Gear Solid 4. Just, has a magic to it. Then Metal Gear Solid 1. But again, nostalgia won out on that one, I think.
Yeah, because
then it's MGS3. And MGS3, I think, it might actually be the best game in the series. It might actually be the best game in the series. I had to know. It's tough. And then MGS2 and MGS5 is by far the worst, in my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't know what genre it is.
Yeah. And it's by no means bad. That's, it's an incredible achievement. It's a great game. It's just, no.
Oh, I'm in so much trouble.
Okay, let's go. Let's put the old knuckle dusters on.
So in 3, I have Warcraft 3 plus the Frozen Throne expansion. So I'm going to give you that guess, actually.
I was going to say, that's actually what I was thinking of, but yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm going to give you that.
Yeah, don't hate that.
Number 2, I have Mario Kart. I've specifically got Mario Kart 64, but I will allow any Mario Kart derivative.
I'm glad that you've put it in the top 10. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Number 1, I have Fallen Order. And I think I'm wrong about that, but I don't know.
What do you mean you think you're wrong about that? You could have gone for Knights of the Old Republic. You went for Fallen Order?
I could have had Knights of the Old Republic, and I went for Fallen Order, and I don't know.
For shame. For shame.
You don't have Knights of the Old Republic either. Shut up.
Yeah, no, because it's a good game. It's not top 10. And it's still by far the best Star Wars game. As a matter of fact, I think
it's the first thing I wrote down. Fallen Order. I don't know why.
It's just because it
lives in a really weird space in my head. It's pretty much the only game I've ever not quite no-lifed, because I have a life, but sat down and played for 6 hours straight, 4 or 5 days in a row to beat. I don't know.
Me too. Over a Christmas period, I remember it distinctly because I was in Germany. Yeah. Absolutely demolished that game. I've never once had the urge to go back. Can't really remember the story. I tried to go back when the sequel came out and didn't get past the first hour. Just doesn't grab me anymore. Don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just really that's your best game?
I don't. This is the thing. As I said, I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm stuttering because I don't understand my own thought process here. But all I know is that when we were writing this list, the first one I wrote down was Fallen Order, and I
see. It's interesting because when I was thinking about what would Sean put in his top 10, I was like, maybe he'll put Fallen Order because he did really like that game. But number one, you couldn't have paid me enough to choose that number one.
And having it above Mario Kart just feels like I intellectually know that that's wrong, but I don't know what it is. We need to come back to it. I think when I've had a chance to ruminate on it.
I think we need a special episode on why Fallen Order is the best or not the best video game, as it turns out. I think that's a hot take actually. The best video game ever made is Fallen Order.
But I know that can't be true.
Yeah, but we have to just unpack why you couldn't bring yourself to not put it at number one.
Why have I done it?
Is it one of those where if it wasn't number one, it wasn't going to make your top 10?
It feels like it might be.
That's interesting. It
feels like it might be because I've got lots of honourable mentions that are like objectively more important to video gaming, or like I'm more likely to revisit than Fallen Order.
See, that's interesting, right? Because so to get into the honourable mentions a little bit, I've got two that are quite dear to my heart, and that I think are also instrumental in video gaming as a whole, which are Tetris and Pong. Pong because
yeah, that's fair.
Because that was genuinely the first video game I ever played, preceding even Gran Turismo. And Tetris is just, I mean, what a powerhouse of video gaming. But I couldn't decide on where to put them in the top 10, and I couldn't put them first. But they also felt wrong in any other place, so I just didn't put them in at all. Yeah.
Did you know that Tetris is used as a coping mechanism for sufferers of PTSD?
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Look into it. It's really, really cool. It's to do with the bits of your brain that it activates, like pattern recognition and stuff like that. So if you're a sufferer of PTSD, obviously go and look into this yourselves and find out how it actually works. But like you are taught to use it as a coping mechanism such that when you feel an episode of PTSD coming, you can fire Tetris up on your phone and it stops you from having your PTSD episode.
Look at that.
It provably does that.
Karolinska with colleagues from Oxford. Wow. Huh. That's genuinely very cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's a fantastic video game. The issue I have with it is it's one of those where you play too much of it and you do start dreaming of Tetris.
Yeah, and I think that's what you have to do in order to use it as a coping mechanism for PTSD. Like you have to get to that stage with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
We have so little overlap. Just looking at
Age of Empires 2. Well, I guess MGS 3. Yeah, that's interesting. So
and Warhammer, Total War Warhammer.
Oh yeah. Okay, interesting. So Total War Warhammer, which I'm sure a lot of people will be like, why is there a Total War game in your top 10? But screw you, they're great.
They're also the only games in their genre that successfully do what they try to do, which isn't to be sniffed at.
One of a kind, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. There is no direct competitor on the market.
And sort of in a way, I think Total War as a series ruined Age of Empires. Because it doesn't work after that. Like, what are we doing making one little knight, you know? Come on, give me an army.
You can command 3,000 people or
4 knights and a peasant.
75 people, of whom 60 are peasants.
Yeah, Total War did something quite remarkable, and then it's just, pick your favourite one, ultimately.
Yeah, I think that's right.
People, not to get into it again, but people are complaining about it so much. They've all had huge amounts of jank, but you just enjoy it.
Excuse me.
All these games on the list have massive amounts of jank.
Yeah, I mean, look at you go back to something like Mario Kart or Warcraft 3 or Diablo 2, like. These games were so easily breakable. And we look back on them now with rose-tinted spectacles, I think. I'm sure I do.
Oh, for sure, yeah. For sure. See, what's interesting is that we both like a story-based game. and yet we haven't really agreed on them.
No, that's true.
Massive.
You've got what? Metal Gear Solid, Mass Effect, Final
Mass
Fantasy.
Effect. Remind me, have you played the Mass Effect series?
Off and on. I haven't sat down and played them through.
Yeah. Mass Effect 2 is one of those that's, I think, objectively belongs in like a, maybe not a top 10 of all time, but certainly up there.
Yeah.
Interesting enough as well, neither one of us has picked any Zelda title.
That's a Nintendo problem, though.
It's a Nintendo problem, yeah.
I haven't had a Nintendo since I had a Wii, and I played Skyward Sword, and it just wasn't very good. But everyone's like, "Whoa, Skyward Sword's like the worst one." I'm like, "Yeah, but that was my entry point, and it was shit." Sorry.
I mean,
small Zelda rant. Also, I've seen some gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom, and it looks awful.
The whole construction thing is just why.
It's just not for me. Someone had a bad idea, and no one told them it was a bad idea.
So I briefly owned a Switch, and I played Breath of the Wild, and yeah, I get it. It's charming, but fuck me, I played hours and hours and hours, and I feel like I didn't progress at all.
I've seen lots of people. How to put this? I think Breath of the Wild. I say this as someone who hasn't played it, but has consumed a lot of content of people talking about video games in which Breath of the Wild often comes up. I think it does a lot of the same things as a game like, say, Dark Souls does, but just is in a lot of ways more annoying and less open about the fact that it's annoying. Like, so I've got Dark Souls on here as an honourable mention.
See, I wondered if you'd sneak a From Software, and I think you'd be a massive fan of Elden Ring. I think this is partly why you picked Fallen Order, because it's this sort of...
It's Souls-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was to say, it's a Souls-light, I think.
Yeah, Souls-light. Like Souls Super Light.
Yeah, absolutely. I've played quite a lot of Dark Souls 1, and like I think I just don't have the time for a game like that. It's the reason I haven't picked up Elden Ring. There's a lot of me that is fairly sure I would like Elden Ring if I could sink 50 hours into it, but I can't. I don't have 50 hours. But I think a lot of going back to Breath of the Wild, isn't Breath of the Wild just a cartoony Elden Ring? Like without the punishing death mechanics,
maybe
that Elden Ring has, but it's got the whole you can go anywhere, do anything, fight anyone at any point, which is like Elden Ring's gimmick, but it just doesn't seem to.
What bothered me with Breath of the Wild a little bit is that yes, the world is enormous, but it felt empty to me. Yeah, like what I was hoping for was a Skyrim-esque experience. I mean, I rated Skyrim as the second best game ever made, in my opinion. And that's because you can boot up Skyrim, and once you're past the opening
you're
scene,
awake then.
Which everyone has seen
I
to
love
death.
that scene so
It's
much.
great. But once you're past that, 30 minutes in, 10 players could have completely different experiences. And that's not even talking about modded. Right, where you can literally start anywhere in the world. And you can have amazing experiences, and you bump into people all the time. And Breath of the Wild just didn't have that for me. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about it because it was IGN's #1 game of all time.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people's all-time favourite game.
I can't speak to it because I haven't sat down and played it, but what I've seen of it, it's not going to be my top. Like, obviously, I've got a stupid top 10 list, but it looks like it has too many irritating mechanics that are in the game only to force you to go and explore the world, rather than because they make like ludonarrative sense. I think that's my sort of big takeaway. Is it wears its gamification on its sleeve a little bit too much.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
In contrast with an honourable mention of mine, which neither of us had, but I think you bounced right off this, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. No, never wanted to engage with it.
But that's a full living, breathing world. So if that's what the experience that you want, then that's where to go.
It scared me too much.
It's too big.
It's too big, too realistic as well. I think was my, having watched a little bit of it and read some of the articles when it came out.
You do actually have to worry about things like temperature when you're sleeping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the experience,
But this brings me on to an interesting point because I was thinking about this earlier. So Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously a fantastic video game for a lot of people. I'm sure it would belong on many top 10 lists. You've got it in your honorable mentions.
Yeah.
One of my issues with it, as well as Red Dead Redemption and the GTA series, right? Rockstar.
The controls are absolute dog shit.
Yeah, they just cannot make a good video game in terms of controls. It's just horrific. It feels like you're controlling Octodad, like the entire game.
I'll give you that, and it's probably actually why it doesn't make my top 10, because in terms of ambition and scope and things like that, it's just objectively the best game in those categories.
Yeah. GTA 5 should be in anyone's top 10 list if you've ever played it. It's a phenomenal game, and yet I couldn't put it on because the controls annoy me so much.
It handles like a pig in treacle.
But Rockstar clearly does it on purpose, right? You're not telling me that they're not capable enough developers to make it run better. It's just, I think it's always just been a part of their ethos with those series.
But it's because part of it is because it's that sort of third person over the shoulder camera, which works really well in a melee combat game like Ghost of Tsushima or The Witcher or something like that, but works terribly for any game involving gunplay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Which is, it's a shame because the Gran Turismo, the GTA series is just outstanding. Every single one of those games is huge amounts of fun. Red Dead Redemption was great.
I actually thought that was what you were going for with your number 10. I thought you were going to say the original GTA. And then you said Gran Turismo, and I had to sit down.
The original GTA? Which was the original GTA? I remember GTA 2 quite vividly. Yeah, but they're all top down. And GTA London. They're probably all kind of the same.
I don't know what the actual original one was.
Actually, yeah, that's a good game. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Didn't make it.
No, fair enough.
So something to address, I guess.
Talk to me about Black Flag. What did you want to come back to about?
Yes, Black Flag. So the one honorable mention I had, because I considered the Assassin's Creed series and then dismissed it, because actually I remembered that there's a lot of repetitive stuff in all of those games. And I still haven't recovered from playing Odyssey to platinum level. Not sure I ever will.
That's an unbelievable feat that you should get made into a badge.
It could be a Patreon supporter treat. So I wrote Assassin's Creed 2 because I did want to honorable mention the Assassin's Creed series because I played certainly all the original ones. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I think, has the issue that it ruined the series because it was too good, and Ubisoft kept trying to make that game again, and they just can't, and it's really frustrating. It's a fantastic game, but I think Assassin's Creed 2, I preferred the story of it, and now hear me out, Assassin's Creed 2 introduced one of the best multiplayer game modes of all time. That Ubisoft then killed.
Was that the Hunt?
It was just like Assassin's Creed multiplayer was just really different and really fun.
Yeah, it was very good.
It's one of the few multipliers that I've ever enjoyed.
I liked the fact, I don't think it was in Assassin's Creed 2, I think it might have been in Assassin's Creed 3. Ubisoft obviously had an idea of how they wanted the multiplayer to work, with like people sneaking around and blending into crowds and all of that. And then you loaded up a game and everyone was just sprinting around and stabbing everything.
There was an element of that, yeah.
It was amazing. It was so different from the tutorialization. It was so funny.
So no, Black Flag, I think, no, I absolutely have no qualms with Black Flag being near a top 10 list.
I like the argument that Black Flag's problem was it was too good.
It ruined, it literally ruined the series. It killed it. It's killed it. It hasn't recovered since Black Flag. Like, they've made decent-ish Assassin's Creed since, but no.
Apparently Unity is no amazing.
Apparently Unity... See, I played Unity on my PC a couple of years ago. I think during lockdown, because what else are you going to do? Looks amazing. Yeah, they fixed all the bugs. Just didn't grab me.
Yeah, I think that was my problem. I didn't bounce off Unity because of the bugs. I bounced off of it because the core gameplay wasn't quite what I was looking for. But I was looking for Black Flag.
Yeah, exactly. Because I got a few hours into Assassin's Creed Unity and I was like, no.
Where's my boat?
Where's my boat? Where's my pirate ship? And then Odyssey's like, here, have this boat. It's like, yeah, I don't want that boat. I want a pirate ship. God damn it. And I want to take other ships.
You took the assassinating out of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Talk about ruining a series.
Black Flag. I mean, it definitely deserves an honorable mention because, wow, what a series killer.
I think Black Flag might not be the best Assassin's Creed game. I think you're probably right that 2 is potentially better. And the 2 Revelations Brotherhood story arc is so good. But is Black Flag the best pirate game ever made? If you just take all the Assassin's crap out of it and just play as Connor Kenway with the Jackdaw sailing around the Caribbean being a pirate.
So I don't think either one of us has ever played Sea of Thieves, right?
Yeah, but that's multiplayer and I don't want that. I don't want other people in my pirate game.
No, true. And I think this is going to be the issue with Ubisoft's upcoming pirate game if they actually manage to release it.
Oh, yeah, it'll be...
It looks shit. It looks terrible.
Shit.
Dreadful. I think Assassin's Creed Black Flag might be the best Assassin's Creed... Well,
I think
might be the best game in that series because... Yes, you can do the assassin-y stuff and the story stuff and do all that, but you can also just spend 5 hours sailing the seas.
Yeah.
Which you can't do in Assassin's Creed 2, right? You can stroll the streets of Florence, but it's not the same.
I think you're right that the story in 2 is better. So if you're there for an Assassin's Creed epic drama story, 2 is the best. If you want, I think the gameplay in Black Flag is better. I think because you can carry 8 pistols by the end as well, which is just fantastic. You jump onto a boat and just shoot everyone, and then you're like, "This is my boat now."
It's unclear what happened. I think there was a time where clearly at Ubisoft, the people making creative decisions were just lovers of fun.
Yeah,
and then after that, Ubisoft was like, "Oh, we need to really Ubisoft this and make it commercial and stuff," and then the fun went.
Yeah, because. Say what you like about Black Flag, it's not a well-balanced game. But, everything from the original Assassin's Creed all the way through to probably Black Flag or Unity, they're not balanced. Connor Kenway can kill 12 boats worth of redcoats. But you know what? That's fun.
Yes.
And then they decided to make fucking Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla. We're like, there's much more skill involved and you have to level up and your gear matters and all of that. And I'm like, I'm not playing Diablo. I don't want this.
Yeah. No, I agree. Agreed. Interesting experiments. There's sort of RPG elements, but...
Yeah, I didn't like that.
So let's talk a bit about the fact that, for example, I went for Mass Effect 2 and not 1. Or 3.
There's a lot of that.
So to start off with, I guess, so I picked Total Warhammer 2, you picked 3. I think those are examples where you can't pick 1, even though
it's not
potentially most nostalgic of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the worst.
I mean, it just is. There's not enough content in it. It didn't get enough support because they got 2 out so quickly.
Yeah.
And 2 is just better in every way, even if you're playing in the location of 1 with a race from 1. It's just better.
Absolutely.
It's deeper. There's more to go on. I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that you will end up being right that Total War Warhammer 3 is going to be the best one in that series. Might not be there just yet. I don't know. I haven't been back for a while. But it can't not be the best, right? Because it's just more of the same.
Got everything from 2 in it. The only argument I could see against 3 being the best is there's too much in it, which is a point that you've made before. You're at the stage now where you can't move for bumping into like another
these
legendary
lords,
lord faction. So the world feels smaller than it does in 2.
Yeah.
A bit, maybe. But
the stakes are just a bit different, right? Because where in 2 you could sort of have these things where you're fighting some minor factions knowing that like on the horizon there is a beast of a powerhouse, right? There lurks Karl Franz.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in 3 it's like, well, to get to Karl Franz I've got to get through like 3 Kislev legendary lords and a whole bunch of ogres and then like all this other shit, so the chaos might pop up. It does lessen it somehow, but also feels more epic at the same time.
It's a really, I think there's so little to pick from between 2 and 3. For me, because 3 is just iterative on 2, it's just 2 plus. I don't really see how you can go back to 2 now, knowing that 3 exists.
Yeah,
it is my sort of theory there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But I don't hate Warhammer 2 on your list. Like that's currently everyone's favourite because 3 hasn't finished its development cycle yet.
Yeah, and there's some easy ones like Portal 2 is just better than Portal 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Age of Empires 2, as we said, is the best one. Mass Effect 2, I think, is the
2,
one. Yeah,
not 3 or 1.
One's good. Don't get me wrong. One's good, and it started something beautiful, but it just it has the most age in that some of the RPG mechanics it has just a bit too clunky.
I've got the Mass Effect Legend box edition thingy where you got all 3 of them and you can play through, and I've got stuck on 1 because I don't have the nostalgia for it or for 2 to push through, because it feels really dated now.
So honestly, and this is what I mean, the developers actually put in a way to skip Mass Effect 1 and still get some element of decision making, right, with the comic that they introduced, which I think was really clever. Yeah. It's just an admission on their part to say, we realise that this game's a bit old, and so it may not be what you're expecting now. But Mass Effect 2, it just gets everything absolutely right. There's lots of story, lots of character development, character interaction. It's linear without being linear, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I think that's an underrated trait in a game. Yeah,
as in, you know where you're getting, where you need to get, and you know exactly how to get there, but the game then is just like, well, do whatever you want in the meantime. And Mass Effect 3... See, this is... So I'm replaying Mass Effect 2 slowly, because there's just too much other stuff I also want to play. But I'm kind of struggling to remember Mass Effect 3. I really enjoyed the multiplayer of Mass Effect 3, and I really like how it tied into the story. That was really cleverly done. I think it's just the ending. I've never quite forgiven it for that.
You see, perhaps because I played them out of order, but I think the ending of Mass Effect 3 is actually really good. And that might be something we could discuss on a later date, because this is an unpopular opinion. But I think there's something powerful about the ending for me.
I agree, because I always thought this is great because it's the illusion of choice, and that's just a fact of life.
Yeah, that's exactly they didn't. You've almost done everything wrong.
Just they could have really shoved it down our throats. The fact that they changed the ending, I think, is almost the thing that annoys me.
I think that's absolutely criminal. They gave you the opportunity to have a different ending because everyone was so unhappy that they didn't get a happily ever after. And I'm like, no, you don't get a happily ever after.
Exactly.
That's the point.
It would have been such a great epic story to be like, yeah, you thought you had all this choice, and ultimately it made no difference because sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah, the choices that mattered still mattered because you made them in the moment, and you did what you thought was right at the time, and it still brought you here, but you still I don't know. The reaction to Mass Effect 3 really frustrated me and hammered home that we shouldn't trust gamers.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And then Elder Scrolls 5, why not 6? Well, because 6 is never going to come out.
Yeah. And
MGS 3, I think, is a really interesting story, though. So you've picked it, obviously.
Yep.
Why 3? What was it about 3?
Well, I've never played 4, which you've got at the highest on your pseudo ranking. 2, I actually quite like, but it's too weird. And the bait and switch is really funny the first time you play. Or, no, the bait and switch is really funny the second time you play. But the first time you play, you get really confused because you wanted to play as Snake, and all of a sudden you're playing as Raiden, and you're like, hold on a second, what? And I can do cartwheels now? What is this?
Yeah.
But 3... the setting is really good, the jungle setting and the way it leans into that, and the fact that you need to eat and you can use the jungle to your advantage. It gives you a real spec ops power fantasy type thing, I think. And the story's batshit insane, but the story's batshit insane in every Metal Gear Solid. That's the point.
Yeah.
Why not 1 rather than 3? I think it's just too janky, but I also haven't played it very recently, so maybe the jank's not as bad as I think it is.
It's pretty janky.
My memory of it is it's really janky.
I played like 10 minutes of it. I mean, if you remember that it was a PS1 game, it's actually remarkable.
I think that's probably true. And there's lots of funny stuff in 1, like the way, if you were playing on the PlayStation 1, Psycho Mantis could read your memory card and then would talk to you about how shit you were at other games that you were playing.
Yeah.
And he could take control of your controller unless you put your controller in the player 2 slot and stuff like that. Like, that was really funny and really clever and well done.
Yeah, agreed.
But, I don't know.
And that's why it just kickstarted something beautiful for me. I think playing MGS1 is really where I became someone who loves games. And so I have to rate high. But MGS3, I think, might be the best one. Which I know doesn't make any sense, given that I think MGS4 is the best one.
I can't comment on 4 because I know nothing about it.
4 has amazing gameplay. It takes itself a little bit too, not seriously, but it's too much sort of, we want this to be the magnum opus.
Right.
A little bit. But it's amazing gameplay. It had the best graphics, and it just hits you in the feels so much if you invest in that series at different times. That, you know, I think people don't like that you're playing as Old Snake, for example, things like that. Maybe it's also batshit insane. The bosses are a little bit sort of, you know, here you go. Here's some bosses. You know, this is just stuff. Yeah. These are stepping stones along the way to what you're actually waiting for. So there's a bit of that. Whereas 3 is just beautifully self-contained. The bosses in 3 are really, really good. Exactly, and they make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean they don't. There's like a B-man, but they
don't, but they do. Yeah. Whereas in 4 they sort of do but don't.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, fantastic game series. Yeah, I don't hate your list too much. Warcraft. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of actually. It's Fallen Order.
I think
that's such a rogue choice.
It's so rogue. I think it hit me. It's similar for God of War. I think it hit me at the right moment. It sort of was a perfect storm of free time and good game and gameplay that really grabbed me and a story that really grabbed me. If I'm brutally honest with myself, it doesn't belong on this list. Like, even for me, something like GoldenEye 64 or hell, like one of the like Xbox 360 CODs probably belongs on this list above Fallen Order. XCOM probably does. KOTOR probably does, but there's just something about that moment in time that lives in the back of my brain with Fallen Order. Also, trying to play Survivor recently and bouncing off it so hard, I think almost reinforced for me how good I thought Fallen Order was because of how bad I thought Survivor was by contrast.
Yeah,
So
no, almost... I mean, it's a very sober explanation. It's quite reasonable.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
No, fair. I mean...
to be clear, you are wrong.
Fair enough.
But I understand the logic. Yeah. God of War, I can see, like, and these like really beautifully crafted games.
Oh, it's so well crafted. It is the first game I think I've ever had which got like a proper... It's not the first game that I've been emotionally invested in, obviously, because I'm not a robot, but it's also the first game that I've been like deeply emotionally invested in the characters and their development. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
no, absolutely.
And it's a bit trite, but I do think part of it is I played it since I became a parent, and watching Kratos wrestle with who he thinks he is, and also know he has to be a father to Atreus, and he doesn't know how to connect with his son, and his son doesn't know how to connect with his dad, and they're both trying in their own way. And there's loads of little scenes where like one of them will turn to the other and start to say something, and then like turn away, and then the other one will turn and like to the back of them, and it's just like, I don't know, it hit me like quite hard in a just sort of like, I don't know, just in the emotions. And
yeah.
I think a lot of people bounced off it because it was, or it didn't bounce off it. I think it was quite well received, but
a lot of people think fantastic game. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people complain that it wasn't the sort of huge bombastic action of 2 or 3, but I sort of think that that's the point, because Kratos has grown beyond that now, and actually the biggest and most difficult challenge in his long and violent life isn't can he kill Baldur, but actually can he do so without losing his relationship with his son. Anyway,
no, I agreed, but why couldn't he get through some like really quite shabby wooden doors?
Yeah, I mean,
the game dev didn't want us to go through said doors.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I think there's something like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, a notable absence for both artists, like The Witcher 3.
Game overrated.
And I mention it because The Witcher 3 is the one game they took to do this, and it's the adaptation, right? People always say, and I'm sort of reiterating a point from The Escapist, from a video they released very recently, but I think they're spot on, is that saying we're going to turn your video game into a film or into a TV series it's not a good thing. It's not your goal, right? Because it's a worse medium for what you're trying to do. You cannot make a film or a video game series of God of War, much like you can't make it of The Witcher. The Witcher is slightly weird, I guess, because it's also a book. But my word, is it a terrible TV show? Right? I think can't be done. Because you can't engage with a video game or with a TV show or a film the same way you can with a video game. You don't go on that same emotional ride. You don't go on that same journey when it's a film.
I think that's... I have basically nothing to add other than if you're playing God of War 2018, it's you are Kratos.
Exactly.
You are the one struggling to connect with Atreus.
Yeah.
So when you see yourself get close and then fail, it hits harder than if you see Henry Cavill as Geralt get close and then fail because you're distracted by his cheekbones.
Yeah. Cool. No, it's part of the storytelling. And it's why I don't want to ever see a Metal Gear Solid film or TV. Well, I mean, I'll watch it, but I just can't imagine it'll be the same.
What about... Well, you've not watched The Last of Us, have you?
No.
Because, I mean, I haven't played The Last of Us yet. It's on my list and it's on PS Plus. So I will at some point, but like I thought that the adaptation worked incredibly well. Having not played the game, I'm curious to speak to someone who, and if this is you, get in touch, please, because I'm really curious to hear what people who have both played the game and seen the TV show think about it.
It's a bit like the episode we did on Wheel of Time, right? Because I'd seen a TV show before reading the book, and I actually thought the TV show was pretty good.
Yeah.
More on that later, for sure. Right. Well, I mean, should we just have a quick fire, a couple of honourable mentions that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, let's do that.
One that I did want to mention, because you put Mario Kart at number 2. You know what I had originally had in my top 10, and it's now an honourable mention?
What?
Is Crash Team Racing, in brackets, superior Mario Kart.
Oh. I mean, I don't agree with you, but fair enough. It's
Again,
the
nostalgia.
It's the same style of game.
It's nostalgia, purely. Valheim made it onto my honourable list.
It didn't make it onto mine, but yeah, it's because it's not finished and I haven't played it very much. I really enjoy it when I play it, but...
That's the thing, I just can't get enough of it when I'm in a Valheim mood, yeah.
That's fair. But, I mean, neither of us have Minecraft or anything like that, which was what spawned the whole genre.
Yeah. The Minecraft just doesn't hit the same for me, somehow. Certainly not bad, don't get me wrong, but...
Lacking in narrative.
Yeah. No FPS anyway?
Lacking in style. No FPS. Well, I've got GoldenEye 64 as an honourable mention. You've got Portal. I've got Vermintide and Left 4 Dead as honourable mentions as well.
Vermintide, I forgot about
specifically that. Vermintide 2.
Yeah,
it's not a good game.
No.
And that's why it couldn't make the list. Same with Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, but it's fun, and it's really fun to play with friends.
See, I actually had Battlefield 2 on my honourable mentions.
I had Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the first Modern Warfare 2.
But for God, it's awful. And everybody who plays it is awful.
The thing was, when I was playing it, like, with mates at school on, like, split screen,
They're all awful.
It wasn't awful. We were all awful, but, like, it was great fun. And
no, exactly. And that's pure nostalgia.
Hours and hours into it, but it's just nostalgia.
Yeah, because I started with Battlefield, so... I was always going to be a Battlefield person over a COD person. So,
no Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, if you make me do this list again in a year's time or 2 years' time, I wouldn't be surprised to find Baldur's Gate 3 in the top 10.
I think that's probably likely. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just haven't connected with it enough. It's phenomenal.
It's sitting there, festering, but I don't think
ready.
Yeah.
It's in the wings. A really random two random honourable shouts that I had were Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Yes, good. Pro Skater 2, superior Tony Hawk, but fine.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Just played more of 3 than 2. And then Battle for Middle Earth.
Oh, I had nearly had Battle for Middle Earth 2.
I've got 1/2 question mark because I couldn't decide between either one.
Yeah, they were good fun, but I think they might just be
super
like in today's world. I think they're just bad Age of Empires 2 mods. Or not mods, skins for Age of Empires 2.
I mean, I cannot wait for Battle for Middle Earth Reforged. One day, it'll happen.
It's coming.
One day,
it's coming.
The other one I had, the last one, two last ones, completely different to each other. Sims 3, because I played a lot of that. Best Sims I've made, and Splinter Cell.
Ooh, Splinter Cell, the original, or just any Splinter Cell.
Kind of any Splinter Cell. I can't honestly remember which one it was, but there was one which had the most amazing co-op mode.
Yes, I think I do.
Xbox
remember
360.
That. I think I do remember that.
Yeah, there you go.
Those were good. Those are very good. What have I got? What haven't we spoken about? Dark Souls, we've chatted about a little bit. Skyrim I have as an honourable mention. I think...
It's got to be, right?
It's got to be at least an honourable mention. It redefined gaming.
Yeah. Interesting, nothing like Dragon Age or Fable for either one of us. Stuff like that.
I don't like the combat in Dragon Age. At least the Dragon Age that I've played. I don't like the combat in it. And Fable was too whimsical for me.
Yeah, it really is.
I couldn't engage with it properly. Knights of the Old Republic I have as an honourable mention.
I mean, you can't put Fallen Order in and not talk about that.
You can't, yeah. I think it's just aged not particularly well.
Yeah, rip the remake, sadly.
Yeah, that's very, very sad. GoldenEye 64. If you're going to have an FPS, it's got to be GoldenEye, I think. Best split-screen shooter ever made.
And actually, you know what? It's still really fun.
It's also still really fun.
Looks like absolute shit, but my good is it fun.
The N64 controller is an absolute marvel of engineering.
The best controller for FPS by far. Better than mouse and keyboard.
Well, you need 3 hands for it. That's what makes it so good. There's always a trade-off. As I said, I had Anno 1800 because it just tickles the bit of my brain that likes watching numbers go up. Ditto Factorio for the same reason. There's too many things in Factorio that are just a little bit frustrating.
In Factorio, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, it's a great little game.
It's almost like a phenomenal tech demo. Like, look what a computer is actually capable of.
It's just, this is what Excel should look like.
Yeah. This is what Excel looks like if you take the cells away.
Yeah.
This is what's going on under the hood.
I'm amazed that you don't have Crusader Kings 2. Actually.
Why don't I have Crusader Kings 2? It's a fair point. I don't really think this is dangerous. I don't really think of Crusader Kings 2 as a game.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, they're more like simulators, all the Paradox games. Except maybe for Stellaris.
I mean,
I don't,
So is Farming Simulator, it's a great game.
Yeah.
Free on PS Plus if you're a member.
Is it? Interesting.
Yeah.
Last few from me. So XCOM, any of them, probably 2 is the best, but I really like Enemy Within as well. And my last honourable mention, which is quite a dangerous one, is World of Warcraft. Because it's still going.
Yeah, it's a staple, right? It's a bit like old school RuneScape, I guess.
Yeah.
These things just cannot die.
Yeah, it's outlived all competitors.
It'll live on when everything else has died.
After the heat death of the universe, people somewhere, somehow, will still be running raids.
Yeah, for sure.
I sank more time than I care to admit into World of Warcraft, and I don't play it anymore, but as far as I understand, it's still going strong with a stable player count, which is phenomenal for any game. I think that's us. Let us know. I guess obviously we've sort of just talked about video games that we like for an hour and 10 minutes, but let us know what we've missed. What's in our list that shouldn't be? What did you bounce off that we loved? What did we bounce off that you've loved? Obviously, our lists aren't complete, or even, in my case, right. But
in my case, of course, spot on.
Yeah, I mean, perfect.
No, let us know on our Discord, or tweet us, or send us an email about what should have been in this list and why we are wrong and should be vilified forever and ever, because I'm sure we should be.
And if when you're doing that, if you could post this episode to a really popular subreddit so that lots of people can find it and listen to it, that'd be really good.
Yeah,
just to make sure.
Look how stupid these guys are.
Make sure you really, get that link right at the top of your post so that it's really easy for people to jump on the bandwagon.
The more toxic rage haters, the better.
I do live for that sort of thing.
Yeah. But no, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Expertise is Overrated. No doubt we have said some things that are either objectively wrong or downright offensive. As ever, feel free to let us know, rate the podcast and leave us a comment, or drop us an email at expertiseisoverrated@gmail.com, tweet us at zeroexpertise, check out our website expertiseisoverrated.podbean.com, or come join us on our Discord server.
If you're lucky, we might just argue with you in one of our upcoming episodes. If you're really lucky, we might call you an idiot. Come back next time for some more absolute nonsense.